Hello, everyone, and welcome to Rising Stories Podcast. I'm Corrine Sandifer, your host. A few years ago, I decided to devote my time to empowering women. Since then, I have helped women build their businesses, started a lean-in chapter in Nashville, Tennessee, met Sheryl Sandberg, and started this podcast featuring women who are rising in their stories. What you will find on this show is two women talking about how they got their start in business and some best business practices. You'll also hear great advice for anyone wanting to move forward in every stage in life. We share things like productivity tips, favorite apps, and things that we find that are good and wise. If you are someone who needs some encouragement to launch your dream, or you want to hear about how to work at your highest level, or maybe you just love hearing stories from fascinating women, then this is the podcast for you. Today's show is all about single moms. I was raised by a single mom who worked so hard to put food on the table. She was a great example of how to pick yourself up by your bootstraps and succeed. My husband's mother was also a hardworking mom who many times worked 2 jobs to support her 6 children. Many of you don't know this, but my husband was a recording artist many moons ago and has a great song about single moms and dads. I'll share the link to it in the show notes below and at CorrineSandifer.com. Today, my guest is another single mom who decided to pour her heart out in a book after a tough divorce. This cathartic writings became a book called The Mother God Made Me to Be. She is a single mom who speaks those things that most would never say, but single moms need to hear. She is raw and authentic and a phenomenal writer. She's author, speaker, Karen Valentin, and she's my guest today on episode 109. Karen and I talk about how to carry that pain, and she gives us a glimpse into her journey from Guidepost writer to now leader, writer, and speaker. But before we begin, I would love it if you would follow me on Instagram and follow my stories, and also subscribe, hit the subscribe button on iTunes or follow me on Spotify. I would love it also if you would visit my YouTube channel under Corrine Sandifer Rising Stories. Everything, if you're in the office and you can't get on your phone, you can always listen on your desktop with YouTube. Also, don't forget that we are sponsored by Amazon with my Amazon store. You can visit that. I'll put the link below, and also Audible. You get 2 weeks of free Audible trial with my code, and you can just click on the link below or go to show notes at CorrineSandifer.com. And now here is my conversation with Karen. Hi, Karen.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Welcome to Rising Stories.
Thank you so much for having me. I really am excited.
Yeah, well, I was reading your bio, and you have been doing all kinds of writing. You've been a writer since like early on, maybe even earlier than I've got 2005 when you were doing your Guidepost things, but your daily Guideposts, but probably earlier than that, right?
Well, yeah, my first book actually was published in 2005, The Flavor of Our Faith.
Oh, okay. And
So it was around the same time.
What made you want to be a writer? Was it something that you wanted to do as a young child?
Yeah, that's something that I always loved to do. As soon as I started writing words, I just had so many ideas in my head, and I was a kid who had ADHD and active imagination, so I was always in trouble in school and always daydreaming and just drifting off. And it was writing and art actually that helped me to focus in on my ideas and give them a home. And so I was always kind of even stumbling out of bed. If I had an idea, I have to write this down. So it was quite a big deal for me to write and to get these thoughts and ideas out of my head so they wouldn't be kind of dancing around and distracting me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you have written 5 books, and the latest one is called The Mother God Gave Me to Be. Made Me to Be, sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, the God made me to be. Absolutely.
Yeah. And that is a unique book because you become very, raw and authentic with yourself in this book, where you are sharing your story and as being a mom. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Sure. So, I was writing for Guidepost for years, and every year I would write about what happened that year. And so I had a lot of pieces that spoke about my kids and about my divorce. And so my agent at the time said, you use those pieces to write a book, a memoir. And there was a lot that I had, left out. They were in the Guidepost pieces. And I said, if I do this, I want to be completely honest about everything. Even if it was embarrassing or hard to write, I just knew that I had to do that in order to have something authentic and to be true to the experience. And when I did that, it was so healing for me to write it. And all these emotions that I thought were already kind of healed took on another layer of healing, if you would. And it was just so cathartic and so amazing to just release all of that into the book. And in turn, when other people read it, they appreciate that rawness and that authenticity and just say, you said things that I would have never said, and that I also needed to hear. Mm-hmm. And you spoke my heart. That was great.
So these moms were seeing themselves maybe in what you've written.
Absolutely. Right.
And surprised, but comforted that there was someone else that was doing or thinking or feeling the same way. And
exactly.
Yeah. Man, it just, it goes to show that, what we go through more than likely isn't that unique. I mean, there are some stories that are, but some of the things that we go through typically are things that happen to everyone, and it's the way that we handle it and the way that we, in your case, and bringing God into our situation that matters and that makes a difference.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. As a Christian, I had already gone through a stage of being angry at God. This was before I was married, and that didn't work well for me. Mm-hmm. And so when this happened, there were also aspects that I felt I contributed toward the situation, and so I felt like I couldn't be angry at God because I knew better in certain situations. That contributed to the situation that I was already in. And so I just really hung on to him. And I just had a really great support system in my church. And just through them and just through just constant prayer and just crying out to the Lord, I was able to gain a different perspective and seeing myself as a victim and just rise up.
Karen, take me through that time in your life when you went from, writing for Daily Guidepost to becoming that contributor to Guidepost and then to writing your first book. What was that transition like?
Oh, it was all kind of in the same vein. I met my agent through a Bible study, actually, and I was about to go to France for a year to teach English, and I wanted to use that year to explore this love of writing and whether or not I should pursue something in publishing. And so it just so happened that during that time when I was having these thoughts, I went to a Bible study and I met Agent Ingram, who became my literary agent. And I just gave her some samples of some work that I'd done in college. And she said, "Oh, Karen, we need to turn this into a proposal. And that became my first book, The Flavor of Our Faith. And with her guidance, and I was able to write for Guidepost pretty much at the same time. Just before I left for France, we submitted the proposal. And while I was in France, I got the phone call that I was going to get a contract to write the book. And so, yeah, when I wasn't teaching, I was writing in little cafes, kind of that dream of, yeah.
That is just about every
writer's dream, right?
dream to just be, like the greats, just going to a cafe and writing all day long. That's awesome.
Exactly.
You lived it. You lived it.
I did.
Yeah. And of course you're living my dream now because you're living in a big city. If I may, you're living in New York, right?
I live in Manhattan. I'm near Central Park, and it's amazing to raise kids here. I know, like, a lot of people think, it must be such a place to raise children, but it's amazing because there are so many museums and so many theaters and just all kinds of cultural things that you can expose your children to. I have Central Park next to me as well, so that's amazing.
Right.
So it's been wonderful. Yeah, it's been great.
Yeah, who wouldn't want Central Park to be your backyard, basically?
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. And what's great is, we all retire into our bedrooms. And so, at the end of the day, and that's just a place where you sleep, but you've got the whole city where you can play. So I think that's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it definitely has its downfalls as well. But for the most part, I love it here.
Yeah. And you don't have to shovel snow like the rest of us who, when snow comes, we have to shovel. If we want to walk on, the sidewalks, we have to shovel our own sidewalks and driveways to even just get out.
Right.
But you can just step right on out, and it's all done
Step
for
right
you.
on out.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
That's pretty cool. Well, tell me, where are you now? So you've written your book, and you're...
Well, so it came out last year in hardcover. The Mother God Made Me to Be in hardcover. And this month, in September, it was released in paperback, in trade paperback. So when it first came out, I was able to speak at different locations and do signings and things like that. Now what I'm doing in order to promote the paperback and also kind of to celebrate it is I'm doing something called hashtag 1,000 Single Moms Strong. And what that is we are giving away 1,000 hardcover books to 1,000 single moms. And that has been amazing. That has just been so great. We've partnered with certain different organizations, and we've given out a few hundred books already, and I'm still in the process of doing that some more. We asked my editor and myself. We asked permission to do this, and they said yes. So they have put aside 1,000 books, and whenever an organization, if they're doing an event, they'll ask for a certain amount of books. It'll be shipped to them. I'll come and I'll speak about being a single mom and just give an encouraging word, and then I will sign the books and give them out. So yeah, it's just pretty amazing because that's the point of the book. I just want to encourage other moms, especially single moms, but every mom struggles. Yeah. There's whether you're single or not, there are moments in your life that you have to deal with difficult things and grief. And the point of my book is just sharing how I needed to go of that pain in order to carry my children. I wasn't able to carry my pain anymore and be a good mom. And that's why I called it The Mother God Made Me to Be, because he made me to be a wonderful mom to these kids. And I couldn't do that while I was in that pit of depression and just holding on to that bitterness and anger. And so I had to find ways to let that go, find a new perspective, and focus on what I had instead of focusing on what I didn't have anymore.
That's
and
powerful.
What I had, and what I had was two amazing little boys. So that's what I did. I focused on them. and there's a quote in there. There was a homeless. My church deals has a big ministry in homelessness, and so one of our he's recently passed on, but one of our beloved elders used to be homeless, and he would counsel people and he would hear all of their grievances and all the things that these hardships and these things that they were bitter about. And he said, you know what, that everything you're telling me can be true. Mm-hmm. But if you focus on that, it'll kill you. You know, he said, the anger that I had toward my parents and the world ended me up in a straitjacket in a mental institution and homeless. And when I stopped focusing on that pain and focusing in on my healing, that's when my life began to change. And he was an incredible leader in church.
That's pretty powerful. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So Karen, what are some things that you things that you're loving, that you're using? You're like, hey, I've got to tell you about this. It can be anything from, you know, the best makeup or whatever. I just love to ask my guests what they're loving these days, and so.
Well, one is kind of, it's a funny one. When my kids were babies, you know, I had Snap and Go, and when they outgrew it, I kept the basket part of it. You know, that it just kind of folds up. It's called McLaren. It's kind of like a Snap and Go, but McLaren brand. And that just holding on to that. I've been able to do my groceries, do my laundry. That's like everything. Recently, I went to about like 30 blocks away to pick up a dresser, and that thing carried that dresser all the way back to my apartment.
Is it like a stroller, but where you can put stuff in, or?
Yeah. So basically, it's where you would snap in the car seat. So if you have, So now it's obvious minus the car seat, and it's just a basket that folds, and it's, so any mom out there, if you have one of those things, do not let it go.
Do not let
it will
it
save
go.
Your life. Don't let it go.
Yeah, I can see where that can be come in handy. Where do you do most of your work? Do you do it on a desktop? You do most of your writing on a desktop or an iPad? How do you go about writing?
Yeah, it's mostly on the desk, on my iPad. Sorry, my iPad, my laptop.
Your laptop.
And so, and I have to kind of get out of the house most of the time to do it. So I'll go to like Whole Foods or Starbucks or something like that. Yeah.
So you're still doing the same. Yeah, you're still going to little coffee shops and doing some writing.
Just in New York now.
It does kind of energizes you when you're trying to come up with something as a writer.
Yeah.
It's just
because you see other people doing. Yeah, absolutely. Just to feed off the energy of other people. You see kind of life happening before you, and other people are kind of focusing on their work, and you're like, okay, they're busy, I'm going to be busy too. Whereas at home, it's like, oh, let me see what's on television. Yep. Oh my goodness, these dishes need to be done, or, you know, I should start this laundry. So it's just a lot less distracting.
Do you have a certain app that you love?
It's kind of only the city. It's called Via. It's a taxi service that basically it takes you anywhere in the city for $5.
What's it called?
And it's a share ride. So it's called Via. And so it's just that cars are on a certain path, and if it matches where you want to go, they'll pick you up. And it's great. So I use that a lot.
Nice. Now, are these cars are they actual taxis, or are they people that are
No, they're just
driving?
regular. Yeah, just people that are driving, that are registered to work with VIA, and they have that the taxi number and on their window shields.
So it's a little bit like Uber, but just in the city. And like just basically just from one point A to point B. Like I'm going downtown, down 10 blocks.
Doesn't matter like how far you're going. You could go from all the way to from Harlem to the Lower East Side, and it'll be the same price. So
that's nice.
Yeah,
wow.
That's great.
Can tourists use it? I guess they could, right?
Oh, of course. You just have to download the app.
You just have to download the app, and it's VIA, V-I-A.
Yeah, it's called VIA, V-I-A. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Nice. That's good to know. Well, Karen, thank you so much. I know you've got to run. You're a busy mom, but I really appreciate you coming on. And we've had some audio difficulties, but I think we've got it down, and just love having you. Thank you so much. And next time you come on, I'm sure you'll have another book, and we'll
hopefully.
Yeah, we'll talk about that too. So thanks again.
Absolutely. Thank you. And for those of you who are listening, definitely go out and buy a copy of The Mother God Made Me to Be, out in trade paperback now. It makes a great gift for a mom, any mom. Doesn't have to be a single mom, and that would be awesome.
Karen was such a lovely guest. I love her tip about that stroller thing. I think that she's onto something. I think that's an awesome, awesome tip. I love her and all the things that she is doing to help single moms. So if you're interested in getting in touch with Karen some more and maybe having her come and speak at your church or your organization, I will link all of her information in the show notes below on iTunes, and I'll also do that on the show notes at CorrineSandifer.com. Thanks so much for listening. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. And if you're a Spotify or YouTube fan, you can go and listen there. Thanks again, and keep rising in your story.